photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they're so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6 III. Outperform.
Introducing ISO Color Edge. Precision is essential for any professional working with images. Whether you're an artist, a retoucher, or a visual effects specialist, you need to know that what you see at the start of a project is precisely what you'll get at the end. Color Edge monitors give consistent, reliable accuracy that guarantee no surprises within your color workflow. So what you see in real life is what you see on screen, and what you see on screen is what you see in real life. That's precisely why professionals all over the world trust ISO Color Edge for their image creation. ISO Color Edge. Discover living, breathing color.
One. Good evening and welcome to the judging of the 13th category in the 2025 Australian Photographic Prize. We are judging the In-Camera Artistry category. Wherever you're tuning in from, we're so glad to have you here. We are going to see some of the finest in-camera artistry in Australia and internationally. So, I'm Robin Campbell. I'm the founding director of the Australian Photographic Prize. I'm here today on behalf of our competition director, Daniel Bingham, and our director of judging, Chris Anderson, who have worked incredibly hard to bring us this year's awards. Special thank you also to Nathan Bingham, who's running the live stream, and Helen, our scribe. In Australia, when we open events like this, we do it with what's called an acknowledgement to country. I'd like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri Wurrung Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which this event is hosted today. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. We'd like to thank our sponsors so much for contributing to the Australian Photographic Prize. Our major sponsor, Nikon Australia. Thank you so much, guys. The overall winner is winning $5,000 of Nikon gear. How amazing is that? Big shout out to Kylie, Julie, and the whole Nikon team. Also, thank you to our division sponsors, AZO, who are sponsoring the Creative Photographer of the Year with a monitor valued at over $2,500, and KL and Godox, who are sponsoring Classic, and Ilford, who are sponsoring the Single Capture Division. Also, thank you so much to Photography Studies College. They are offering a $1,500 scholarship to our High School Photographer of the Year. How cool is that? And Print Shop. We deeply appreciate the contribution of a print consultation and 2 A1 prints valued at $500. So please take a moment to visit their websites, tag them in your Facebook posts, and show them some love, because I tell you what, we really appreciate them. So, how will tonight run? Each image will be judged by our live expert panel with real-time commentary, insights, and challenges. Scores will be displayed on screen as we go. Once all the images have been judged, our panel will then deliberate offline to determine the winners. If you want to find out who came first, second, and third, you need to come along to our live awards presentation next Sunday. It'll be on from 5 p.m. onwards. So, before we begin judging, we're going to do what's called a run-through of the top 31 in-camera artistry finalists. Over to you, Nathan. I now have the honour of introducing our panel mentor for tonight, Sarah Edmonds. Sarah is an award-winning British photographer and professional retoucher. She's currently based in Italy. Specialising in portraiture and fine art photography, her work is known for its elegant finish and visual impact, combining strong creative vision with technical precision. Welcome, Sarah, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, and welcome everybody. We are going to be judging in-camera artistry today, and let's just go over the category rules. If you'd like to see the more in-depth division rules, you can check that out on the website. But the category rules are that this category is straight out of camera images of any genre or subject with no post-production of any kind, including cropping. In-camera artistry is an opportunity to celebrate and recognise camera craftsmanship as well as novel in-camera techniques. Entrants must submit a JPEG image as well as provide a link to the raw file from their camera to be eligible. I'd also like to introduce you to our judges, and we have an incredible panel with us here tonight. We have Andrew Campbell. He has more than 25 years of judging experience and brings incredible expertise and sharp technical insight to the Photographic Prize in 2025. His photographic work spans portraiture, commercial, creative, and astro, the latter being a particular passion through his project Andy's Astro. He also photographs for Melbourne Headshot Company and has helped shape the astrophotography community through his role as director of the Astrophotography Prize. He's a Grand Master of Photography with AIPP, a Fellow of NZIPP, and a WPPI Master, making him one of the most credentialed photographers in the region. We have Bruce Moyle, whose work blends cinematic flair with emotional storytelling. His imagery spans fine art, commercial, and theatre-based portraiture, often exploring character and vulnerability through bold visual concepts. His Imperfect Perfect Portrait series earned back-to-back finalist recognition at APPA and helped cement his reputation for creating work that is both artistically compelling and deeply human. His images have been exhibited nationally and internationally, and he has represented Australia at the World Photographic Cup. We have Gavir Johal, all the way from the UK, with over 15 years of experience. Gavir is based in Birmingham and London, specialising in Asian wedding photography worldwide. He's been ranked #3 World's Best Wedding Photographer at One Island International Awards. He's a triple Icon Master, a Nikon Creator and Influencer, and the Societies in the UK Fellow and Master Photographer. He is also very well known for his in-camera work, having taken home many trophies in-camera artistry. We also have from the UK, James Musselwhite, UK-based portrait photographer, wrestling fan, educator, Ellen Chrome ambassador, and all-round good troublemaker. Chaotic good, that's James. He's best known for his acclaimed project, A Portrait of a Wrestler, a bold, high-impact portrait series that brings theatrical energy and grit to the studio. Dramatic, cinematic, and very James. He's a fellow of the Societies of Photographers and a multi-award-winning image maker, recently named 2024 SWPP Media and Press Photographer of the Year. He's also been featured in Canon documentaries, mentored countless photographers, and judged across major UK competitions. He also won the overall Photographer of the Year in the UK with an in-camera artistry image. Kay Davis. Kay is a photographic artist based in New Zealand, working across both analog and digital methods to create elegant layered imagery. Her work draws inspiration from natural forms, using colour, texture and light to explore subtle beauty and quiet moments of observation. Kay holds the titles of NZIPP Grand Master of Photography and NZIP Honorary Fellow. She's a 4-time winner of New Zealand Creative Photographer of the Year and a past recipient of the Professional Photographer of the Year. Her judging experience includes the Iris Awards and International Landscape Photographer of the Year. Natasha Ward. Let me just pull up Natasha's. Natasha has been a lifelong, photography has been a lifelong passion. She's been shooting for nearly 20 years, and her background includes a Bachelor of Applied Science in Photography from RMIT University, which gives her a strong appreciation for technique and craft, especially when it comes to things to getting right in camera. She works across a wide range of styles and loves exploring creative approaches, from analog processes to experimental techniques, and she's previously judged at the AIPP Awards and has won several awards over the years. Vanessa Macaulay is a Victorian-based photographer whose journey began in education, working as a secondary school teacher before following her passion for photography full-time. Her professional work spans vibrant school promotional images, concert and production photography, and portraiture. Outside of client commissions, she pours her creative energy into illustrative and conceptual fine art pieces that explore visual storytelling through carefully crafted composites. Her conceptual work has earned her awards both in Australia and overseas, recognised for her imaginative approach and striking post-production execution. So as you can see, we have an incredible breadth of expertise and experience here. And with that, I think we are ready to get started. So could we have the first image, please? On the panel, we have Andrew, Gavir, James, Kay, and Natasha. Scores, please. And we have a 76, highly commended. Could we have a comment from Kay, please?
Yeah, really interesting image here. The blue tones are quite effective with what we're seeing. Something that perhaps the photographer should consider is where the lighting is placed on the subject. At the moment, it's actually more directed towards the shoulder chest line than what it is to the face. And I think there'd be more drama if that didn't draw away from what the attention is in the face. But good image.
Great comment. Thank you so much. Could we have the next image, please? Scores, please. And congratulations, we have an 82 Silver Award. Gavir, would you like to comment on this, please?
Yeah, sure. It has beautiful impact, to be honest. I'm more shocked that this is in camera. It seems like the images have already been edited and it's ready for print. The visual impact and the composition and the arrangement of everything and the thought process has been executed really, really well. I think just a little bit more improvement in position of lighting at the moment is coming too much from directly above. I would like to see a little bit more detail in the shadow, so maybe just a slight feather of the lighting would elevate the image, but it's a great image. Well done.
Wonderful comment. Thank you. Could we have the next image, please? Can I just, could we go to a blank screen? I just want to move the judges a second. Thank you. Can we take Andrew off and we'll bring Bruce on, please? And bring the image back. Thank you. Congratulations, we have an 80, we have a silver award. Bruce, you were very close there. Would you like to comment on this image?
Sure. Great little capture, well seen. I'm not sure if this was something you found in the wild or actually put together as a portrait of this little guy or girl. I think my thing would be is just watching the composition a little bit. It feels like he's falling down a little bit, depending if you put it a bit more centered or higher. Playing with that would have been interesting, but I think it's done well, and the depth of field is good to give us those lines through the background without it getting too blurry. So well done on that.
Great comment. Thank you so much. Next, before we move on, can I just take off Gavir, please? And let's bring Vanessa on. Next image, please. And we have a score of 76, highly commended. Could we have a comment from Vanessa, please?
Of course. Such a great concept, and you've really taken the effort to find a costume and to try and tell us a story through the details in the photo. I couldn't go much further than my score because the actual image is not quite pin sharp on the eyes and the hands, etc. I think just a little bit more attention on capturing that really sharp would really bring it to life.
Great comment. Thank you so much. Can we have Bruce, you come off the panel, and we will bring Andrew back on. And can we go to the next image, please? Scores, please. Natasha, can I have your score? Okay. And we have a score of 74. Could we have a comment from Kay, please?
Yeah, what a lovely, curious little creature you photographed here, the photographer's photographed here. I feel that the image could do with a little bit of cropping to remove a lot of the dark area at the bottom, and perhaps even if the photographer had maybe waited a little bit of time just to sort of see where the praying mantis explored, to try and bring it more into that light where the leaf is, because it's the leaf that is actually drawing the attention, rather than the actual creature, which is actually rather curious.
Great, thank you very much. And can we have James, you step off, please? And we'll bring Gavir back on, and we'll go to the next image. And we have a 79, highly commended. However, we have an automatic challenge, and that means that, Andrew, you scored the highest. You're going to have a chance to speak just once, and then we're going to go around and have a discussion, and then everybody will be able to rescore, as this is an automatic challenge. So, Andrew, please tell us, what did you love about this image that you scored at an 89?
Thanks, Sarah. I'm really appreciating the simplicity of this, the balance, the tonality, I think is exquisite. I love the color contrast that we've got here with this particular muted palette. I think this is a very interesting image, but it's got that sense that, you know, you could just see this on someone's wall as a lovely piece of still life. It draws you in without sort of asking a lot of you, and I guess it prompts some reflection at the same time. I think the framing is delicious, and I'd like to see it scored into the, well and truly into the silvers.
Thank you so much. Can we also have a comment from Vanessa, please?
Yeah, thank you, Andrew, for your comments, because I did hesitate. I tell you what, too, the background's very well handled. Like, you know, even though it's in camera, we've got that, it's dark from left to right. We're not left with any light seepage or anything like that as well, which is quite hard to handle. I really like the lyrical nature of this, and I feel possibly I was a little bit under in my scoring. So I'm quite grateful for the opportunity to have a chat about it.
And Natasha?
Yes, I had this actually in the silver range, so not too far off you, Andy, and I really enjoyed the color palette. I think they did a really great job technically, and I do think that there is something really lovely and beautiful about this image, and definitely considering. So that's all I've got to say. Thanks.
Okay. Kay?
Yeah, it's a beautiful ethereal image. I felt it might have needed a bit of cropping, but in a lot of respects, what Andrew has said is that space actually does work for the image. So I will be coming up into the silver range.
Gavir, would you like to provide some final comments on this?
It's all been said by everybody.
Okay.
I'll just be repeating. I kind of do agree with the crop as well. I would like to see the flower on the far left flipped the other way, just to create a little bit more of an imbalance as opposed to everything leaning in one direction. I think that would have kind of elevated the image a little bit more as well.
Okay, great. Now everybody can rescore. So think about what your what the championer here, Andrew, talked about, and rescore your images, including you, Andrew. And we now have an 83 as silver. Congratulations to the photographer, and thank you, judges. We will take off Kay and bring back Bruce to the panel, and then we'll move on to the next image. Just waiting for one more score. And we have an 82 silver award. And we have an automatic challenge, which has been initiated by Bruce, who is also waving enthusiastically at me and can't wait to speak, which is great. So we have a really wide range of scores. And Bruce has scored 92. So would you like to start off this discussion? You get just to speak once, remember? So this is your one and only chance to convince your panel, and then everybody at the end will have a chance to rescore.
Okay. I gave this gold, a solid gold, for a lot of reasons. And I'll start with the first one, which is the actual technique. This is an infrared image. Infrared, if you've never shot it, is incredibly difficult to do well and to have all the tonal ranges working within it. There's usually a lot of blowouts and other issues. This is in-camera artistry. There's nothing been changed in this, so it's amazing. Putting the subject in that shade is actually really clever because they've got white, and if that was in the actual open, it would probably have blown out. So that's part of the technique, but it's also part of the story because this person, this little girl, is by herself in a drought, but there's still something around her. It's kind of ethereal and different. It's obviously been put together on purpose to tell a story. I'm not 100% what it is, but it's there. That tree is insane. How much texture is in that tree? It's beautiful. I think this as a in-camera artistry submission is amazing, and it really, really deserves a gold. So come up, guys. I think you need to help me reward this photographer.
Thank you so much for your comments, Natasha.
Yeah, there's a lot to agree with what you've said, Bruce, but for me, one of the issues is the sharpness on that tree where it should be sharp on the subject matter. It's just that kind of the fact that it's just a little bit too soft. And that tree is kind of a little bit distracting, if not some incredible texture. It just kind of takes away from the little girl. So there are just a few minor technical things that I think is kind of stopping me from sort of coming up to where you are, but I am interested to hear opinions from other people. Thanks.
Andrew.
I'd like to have seen more light on the subject, the girl, because that wonderful tree that Natasha mentioned is kind of stealing the show a little bit. So whilst it works as a great frame for the image, I think a slightly different time of day would have made this even more powerful. That said, congratulations to the entrant. I think it's a very strong entry.
Great comment. Thank you. Vanessa.
I think a lot of what's already been said is really starting to sit with me. I can see that the story there is, possibly something to do with drought, and the dead tree may be overshadowing the life of people who live on the land, but they're still finding joy in moments. So as I'm sitting with it, I'm finding more story, which what I love when an image gets to sit with us a bit longer. So look, I was in the 80s. I'm sort of thinking that's possibly where it sits because it just needs a little bit more refinement on that lighting onto the subject. But it's got impact, very good impact.
Gavir, would you like to add anything as a final comment before we rescore?
Yeah, great in-camera technique. It's not something that I've tried, but if you just put the in-camera technique to the side, maybe I'm being a bit naive and ignorant about this. I would just assume it's like an in-camera filter. So Bruce, maybe you can elaborate on that and how the technique's done. But if it's a filtering camera, I'm just looking at the image overall. As a composition, it's just I'm struggling to find a point of interest, and my eye keeps, even though it wants to stay on the girl and the piano, it gets pulled over to the branch that's sweeping over from the left. So I'm struggling to keep my attention on the girl, and that's the reason I scored the image at 78.
Okay, we are going to rescore. Everybody, including Bruce, everybody can rescore. So have a think about what everybody said and your scores now. And we've gone up a point. We have an 83 silver. Every point counts, and I'm sure the photographer really appreciates it. So thank you, judges, for listening and reconsidering. Congratulations again. Can we take off Natasha and bring on James, please? And next image. And we have an 80, a silver. Congratulations to the entrant. Could we have a comment from Andrew, please? You enjoyed this. Unmute, please.
This is a wonderful study of isolation, and the tonality is glorious. There's that real sense of cold and, I guess, bleak landscape here. Photographer's done a great job. I think the only way it could possibly have scored higher was maybe the introduction of a more dramatic subject or centerpiece to this, but as it sits, it's really beautiful.
Thank you. That's a great comment. Really something for the entrant to take home with them. And can we have Gavia, you can step off. And let's have Kay back on, and we'll move to the next image, please. And we have a 77, highly commended. So, okay, we have challenges, multiple. I'm going to ask Kay. You wanted a challenge, correct?
Yes, I did.
Great. Take it away, please.
Yeah, this is beautifully handled, this this image. The layering effect creates a beautiful texture to it, and the photographers really handled the tonal the hues in the image, just balanced beautifully. And so I really sort of see this in the silver range. I'd love to hear what other photographers think, other judges think.
Okay, great. And on the other end, Bruce, you saw things a little bit differently. So would you like to comment?
Yeah, thank you. I can see how it was layered in camera, and it's great in that respect. I think the thing that got me is the amount of detail in the dead space, particularly at the top end, really wasn't adding anything to me for the story or the thing. I found it quite distracting, even though it's actually the most minimal part of the image. So I applaud the technique and everything, but I just found it a bit messy in execution.
Thank you very much. Could we have a comment from Vanessa?
Of course. To me, I was taken straight on a journey of possibly recent events of flooding, etc., up in the northern parts of Australia. And if you look really closely in that horizon line, there's hints of buildings that to me look like outbuildings from farms, etc. And I can see that amongst that blue, that beautiful tonal blue green, is like this hint of grass, but also a sense of water. And so I was really taken on a journey about, possible story. That plus the execution of that horizon line and the creating us a reflection, which is not quite symmetrical as well, kept my interest. So I think it's beautiful.
James.
Yeah, I scored this 72, placing it just outside of that highly commended range. I felt I commend the author's use of certainly attempting a rule of thirds there to drag our eye from the top down into that bottom third of the picture, and obviously the complexities as well with using multiple exposures within camera to create a raw image. When we actually go into some of those multiple exposure elements on the horizon line, there's just a little bit of crossing. They don't quite match up, they don't quite line up, and overall I was left feeling that I wanted to see a more simplified image, a more simplified landscape to give a more pleasing final result. For me to come into silver, I need to see a clear strength in concept, as the description says. And I just think that there are just too many ideas working against each other here to give me that clear strength in concept, but I'm certainly listening.
Great. And Kay, would you like to have the right of reply and see if you can get your fellow judges to come up?
Yeah, I find the layering technique that's been used has been well treated. We're gridding the gradations in the layers in the skies. You could almost relate them to the clouds moving in the sky. And I really liked Vanessa's analogy of the flooding and all that flooding and the fact that you can see the reflections in the water. To me, the layering adds an element of texture to the image, which could otherwise be quite flat. And that layering has also enhanced the hues, the saturation within the hues of the image. So I would really love to see this in the silver range. So if you can bring yourself up there, that would be really great.
Thank you for your comments. So Kay, you're going to stay where you are at 83 and everybody else can rescore now. And we now have a 79, highly commended. Well done, judges, and well done to the photographer. If we could just switch things up a little bit, we can have Andrew step off and let's have Natasha back on. And we'll go to the next image, please. Scores, please. And we have a 79, highly commended. Bruce, you really enjoyed this image. Would you like to comment, please?
Yeah, I think the concept of this is well seen and well put together. It has that sort of classical painting feel and everything. I think the comments I would give to improve the image is a couple of fold. One, just be a bit more careful on how you light because the arm is quite bright and the face is falling off. So a little bit of subtlety in the lighting, like fractions of millimeters can change the world. The other thing is just with your costuming and everything like that, just be a little careful on how you put that together. The wig meshing is very, very visible, and they're the sort of things you can fix before you take the photo.
Great comments, thank you. There's some really specific advice there that the maker and other people watching can take away. So thank you for that. Can we have Kay? Can you step off, please? And when we have Gavia back on, and we'll move to the next image. And we have a 78, highly commended. Congratulations to the photographer there. Natasha, would you like to comment on this image?
Sure. I really enjoyed the pattern and the texture that the photographer created. There's just it's also just a little bit too busy. So it really sits in the highly commended, competent, well executed work stage, but it's just doesn't have that little bit of extra that you need to really move up into the award-winning late stage as well. It's just also the original image that you can see in there as well, particularly in the bottom area. It's just a little distracting with the sharpness of that, where the sharper trees up further up look really add to the image itself. So there's just it's one of those things that could have worked a little bit better had it been able to be cropped and remove some of the distracting elements at the bottom. Thanks.
Thank you. Great, really useful comments there. Can we have Natasha, you can step off for a second and we'll bring Andrew back on and we'll move to the next image. Scores, please, judges. And we have a 75, a highly commended. Could we have a comment from Gavir, please?
What a visually cool piece to put together. I do like the elements of symmetry in the image. I even turned my head upside down just to see which way it was actually taken, and it works both ways. I think when you're playing around with something like this, just experiment with the blend modes a little bit, because we are getting a little bit of conflict between the highlights and the shadows when you're actually doing multiple exposure in camera as well. Thank you.
Great comment, thank you. James, you can come off and we'll have Natasha back on and we'll move to the next image. We have a silver, we have an 83.
Challenge.
Wonderful, thank you very much. We have a challenge from Andrew, who scored 89. So this is an elective challenge, meaning you get to speak twice. So take it away, Andy, please.
Excellent, thank you. What I'm interpreting here is I guess a allegory for mental health. There's a degree of sadness. There's a degree of, I guess, the person appears to want to be locked away, and the in-camera artistry side of it is exquisite. They've done a really clever job of marrying the overlays together in such a way that they fall exactly where they should do. The subject itself is poised with that sort of sense of isolation and sort of helplessness to a degree. The color palette works really well to keep that muted sense of despair going on in here. And I think this is a very, very solid silver distinction.
Thank you so much. Could we have a comment from Vanessa, please?
Thank you. I'm with Andy here, in the sense that there's obviously been some really deliberate attempts at storytelling, and the pose of the woman herself is helping to create this real tension. I think that it's got that sense of almost like female being erased. Just the position of the crosses through the face and then down where the hands are posed gives that sense of maybe this woman feels she doesn't have a place. So I'm reading into the story and I'm listening really intently because I feel that I've probably underscored this image. It's been handled very well. The skin tones are beautiful, and we can still make this glorious eye contact with this woman through the bars of erasing.
Amazing comments there about reading into that story. I really appreciate that. Thank you. So, Natasha, you were not as positive about this, which means that you've seen lots of areas for improvement, which could be really useful. So I'm keen to hear from you.
Thank you. Yes, there is quite a lot to really enjoy about this image, but there are just a couple of technical elements that really detracted from me scoring it a little bit higher. And one of those is the fact that the eye that you're looking at is not sharp, but the buttons on her clothing are. So you've got the texture in the buttons in the midsection. So that's that depth of field is sort of the focus point is sort of on the wrong point for her. However, I will say it is, having listened to everybody else, I do think they did an excellent job of where those lines are in front of her. But there are just a few little points. Also the highlight on her rings on her hand is just a sort of a little bit of a distraction in the bottom section for me. So I am interested, Andy. So I look forward to hearing what else you have to say.
Great. Can we have a comment from Gavir as well on this?
Sure. Oh, wow. A lot's been said. I agree with everything. What I kind of scored at 82, and I've underscored this. I think the technique needs to be rewarded. The photographer's done a brilliant job of slightly overexposing the base image for you to create that dreamlike feeling throughout the image. And once again, the photographer needs to be applauded for being able to do a multiple exposure and place those twigs where they need to be. But everything else has been said. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
I agree with Andy. I actually came down. I was in silver distinction. I'll go up. Thanks for the challenge, Andy. It gives me an opportunity. I think the big thing for me is, as I keep looking at it, the story keeps evolving for me. The idea of a girl erasing herself, and scrawling over a photo of herself, on the wall or anything, and it's an old photo maybe or a new one, but it's been sun bleached. It's really quite remarkable and well thought out. There are a few little niggles in there, but as a piece of commentary on society and maybe females in society and how some people feel or get put into, I think it's very, very powerful. And yeah, let's reward this photographer for such an excellent bit of communication.
Thank you, Andy. Your rebuttal.
Yeah, look, I'd like to thank my fellow judges for largely positive comments about this one. I think it's, if you kind of look at it just a little bit longer, there's a sense that there's some trauma or an event has happened here, and this person either doesn't want to remember it or is trying to wipe it out of their life. It could be something that she's done. It could be something that's happened to her. The joy of the image is the fact that we don't know, but it really makes you think, and a very provocative image, exquisitely done. I'm calling for silver distinction, please, folks.
Thank you so much. So, Andy, you're going to stay at 89, and everybody else is going to rescore now. Well done, judges. We have a silver with distinction, 87. Superb job. And congratulations to the photographer, who's no doubt going to be delighted. Vanessa, you can take a break and we will bring Kay back on before moving to the next image. Congratulations, we have an 81A silver. And we have a challenge as well. Kay.
Yeah, this is phenomenal. On a couple of levels. The the technique that's been applied to the image, the zooming technique, really emphasizes the mayhem and chaos that we can imagine in this penguin colony. The colors are just so beautiful in terms of the way they've been arranged. It's almost like concentric circles zooming in and as we get there. While there's nothing that's particularly sharp in the image, there is sharpness in the image, and there's not met, and that whole zoom effect is actually about creating motion and movement, and you get that through the whole image. So I've put this in the silver distinction because I think this has actually been very cleverly composed, and the technique that is applied has been very effective with communicating that sense of mayhem and chaos.
Thank you. Bruce, would you like to comment?
Yeah, I was in the highly commended. I do agree the idea of the technique and the technique use is actually great, and it definitely gives like the chaotic nature of a rookery or whatever that is happening here. I think the thing that I found it really challenging, and I still keep finding challenging, is where my eye's landing. I don't. There's it sort of sits to the bird in the middle, but then you've got two birds below it which are looking up to the side, and I find them more interesting, but they're way more out of focus. I kind of wish there was just a different bird or set of birds that were picked to really hone and like nail it where we are, like that sense of like calmness in the middle of the insanity that is this population.
Thank you. Andrew.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. I might be able to help you a little bit there because I see this as a very humorous image. It reminds me a little bit when you go to the footy and the camera zooms in on the crowd to one person, and it might be kiss cam or dance cam or one of those things. But this particular little critter's kind of caught on the hop a little bit there, and it's like, oh, okay, what do you want me to do now? And there's this sort of sense of humor there because they're not actually doing anything other than just hanging out. So yeah, I'm broadly in support of this image. Let's keep talking.
Great. And let's bring it back to Kay, your rebuttal and your right of reply, as this is an elective challenge, so you can make your final comments to convince the panel to come up with you.
Thank you, judges, for your comments. Bruce, to me, in terms of you felt that you were possibly looking for a sense of a place of calm within the image. That's not what a penguin colony is. A penguin colony is just literally mayhem, and they're all over the place. They're not calm. They're walking, they're moving, they're chittering, they're chattering, they're conversing, they're just busy. So to me, this photographer has really captured that sense of chaos, and I like Andrew, your thought around the humor. It is humorous. This makes me laugh. There's a few penguins in there right towards that center, not just that single one, but the three down just below it. They're all key elements which are sharp but not sharp. And I would really like to see this photographer rewarded through a silver distinction.
Great comments. Thank you very much. Kay, you're going to stay at 86, and everybody else, you can think about what your fellow judges said and enter your scores now. And we have an 83. Thank you, judges, for listening and raising by two very important points for the entrant. Can we bring Natasha? You can take a little break, and let's bring James back on. And next image, please. And we have an 80, a silver award. Congratulations to the entrant. I would love to hear from James because you really enjoyed this image.
I did. Yeah, I certainly did. To get this type of portrait right in camera is a really difficult skill, and one that the author has attempted to do very, very well. I appreciate the tight cropping, and I appreciate the overall, although it's clearly female form, I appreciate the androgynous nature of the whole image sort of working in unison together. I like the inclusion of the tattoo. I went in closely. Amor Fati, I assume it's some form of Latin. I assume amor something to do with love, fati something to do with fate, draws our eye and helps progress the narrative even further. To bring it up to the next level, we're working with reflective gold surfaces in that cross. That means the lighting's super difficult to control, the brightest part of the image being the left-hand side there where the cross is being reflected back at us. So just have a look at that lighting, have a rethink about that lighting, how we can adjust subtle turns, subtle feathering to get away from that. And maybe have a look at the crop. We're kind of caught between two minds here. I think the photographer's caught between two minds, between going super close or coming out and being a little bit wider and showing us a little bit more of the whole image. And we've cropped through the knee at the bottom. I would make a decisive choice about what you're doing, whether you're going to show us everything, or maybe my advice would be to go a little bit deeper, make it a little bit more abstract, and trust your in-camera cropping and trust what you're seeing through the viewfinder to get a more dynamic, impactful image.
Amazing comments. Thank you. So useful. Congratulations. Sorry. Yes, excuse me. We have a silver, so thank you for those comments. And I just want to take off. Bruce, you need a bit of a break. And we will bring back Natasha. And we'll move to the next image, please. I really should work on my poker face because when I'm seeing the scores coming in, I've just got a big smile. 88, silver with distinction. And we have a very enthusiastic challenge from Andy. Thank you so much. It's just so exciting when this happens, isn't it? Andy, you scored this 93. This is an elective challenge. That means you get to speak and then speak at the end as well to convince your fellow panelists to come up with you. So what would you like to say?
I think this is extraordinary. The photographer has given us a sense of this journey that this person is on. They're only halfway there, though, because when we look more deeply in, we can see a whole flight of what looks like tortuous, struggling stairs that this person's contemplating the next phase of their journey. And I guess that's a little bit, to a degree, about what we all feel in life. You know, we get to a certain point and then we're not there yet. We've got to keep going. So the photographer's brought us, I guess, a human thought to what this otherwise beautiful landscape. And let's just look at the landscape for a moment, because the way that mist and smoke is repeated beautifully in composition, oh my gosh, they've absolutely nailed the rule of thirds here. And they've done a particularly good job. Little highlight working away through the top there of the crest of that that hill just leads you up to the figure. The figure's perfectly silhouetted against some mist, and this image is absolutely fabulous and well treated. That's all the makings of a Gold Award, in my opinion.
Thank you. Wonderful comments. Kay.
Yes, I've definitely underscored this, and thank you for challenging this, Andrew. I really love how the mist actually creates different sections within the image. So it obscures different elements like those steps, which create a sense of mystery and mood. So I've definitely underscored it. The tones in this are beautiful. I'm definitely coming up.
Natasha, what would you like to say about this?
Thanks. I think that this is really great. Thanks actually for Andy for challenging this. I did have it silver with distinction, but I do think I also underscored it a little. I really think that it's a fabulous composition, the way that you've got the mist with the person in front of it, just making them stand out so clearly. And I think the color palette of this image is also absolutely fantastic. And yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I just also, that barren landscape as well. It's just, there is so much to really enjoy about this image, where the lighting, the time of, obviously when they've chosen to photograph this, where the lighting is hit on that ridge and the shadows. Congratulations to the photographer.
Gavir, you also love this image.
Boom. Yes, I did. I came in at 89 and I wanted to give it a gold. It was just lacking. Well, not lacking. I didn't see the story, and Andy was kind enough to explain the story to me, but I just kind of want to point out the lines and the shapes and the geometrical sort of curves within the mountain. And, the fact that this is a staircase on top is just excellently done. It's just, and that storyline of, the top of one mountain is the bottom of another one. So keep climbing is what kind of made me want to now shoot up higher.
James.
I scored at 89, placing it in the silver with distinction range, and that's the top end of that range, and that's as far as I could go with it. And the reason being is because I was looking for the originality. I was looking for something truly original in this landscape to push it into the gold category. Some of those blank spaces in my head have been filled in by my other judges, so thank you very much. The other point I wanted to mention, and this is an in-camera crop, not a post-camera crop, because we need to be very clear that we can't crop post-processing in this one, but with an in-camera crop, we could potentially have just come in a little bit tighter on that top so that we can't see where the stairs end, and so the stairs go into the top of the crop. And we also have a lovely descending cloud going in through the crop and not falling away as it is in this image, to really give us that heavenly quality, which maybe might push it into the originality that I'm looking for with the gold. I want to take on board all of the feedback from my other judges and reconsider my score.
That would be fantastic. Some amazing comments here. Before we come back to Andy, I just want to look at the definition of gold, because that's what we're talking about here, taking it from that one category up into the next one, which means outstanding image showing excellence in concept, craft, and impact, confidently original or emotionally powerful with few, if any, distractions. I think it's always, when we're dealing with the high stakes image like this, it's always useful to refresh. Andy, would you like to just rebut or consider some of those comments?
Let's just latch on to emotionally powerful for a moment, because this person is an adult, and obviously we've got no idea where they are in their life, but we all, I guess, reflect fondly on our childhood, but it gets a little bit lost in the mist of time, and that's kind of what the foreground of this image represents to me, whereas what's ahead, I guess it's all a little bit fuzzy because we don't really know exactly what's going to happen in the future. So from that, I guess, life illustration presented as a landscape, oh my gosh, this is gold, folks. Come on, let's go, please.
Fantastic. Let's go indeed. I have to be careful not getting carried away with you. When you all get passionate like this, it's really moving. So, Andy, you're going to stay at 93. Everybody else, you're going to think about what has been said and you're going to re-enter your scores now. And we have a 92 gold. Congratulations. Congratulations, judges. I can see all of the judges clapping and big smiles on their faces. Thank you for listening to each other. Excellent job. Let's have Gavir, you can sit out for a second, and let's bring Vanessa back on, and we'll move to the next image. We have an 83 silver award.
Guess I should challenge that.
I wasn't going to force you, but thank you for stepping in. Great, yeah, great stuff. You scored this an 88, which gives you the right to make an elective challenge. So take it away again, Andy.
Okay. This is a swirly, whirly, wonderful bit of abstraction that it just sits beautifully. The color palette is so harmonious, and you can just kind of get lost a little bit in this very Jackson Pollock-like swirl of I guess chaos, and yet it's elegant. You know, it's really an image that there's not a lot to really say about it. I guess it's just one of those things that, you know, one appreciates enormously, or perhaps maybe it doesn't move you. It's moved me, so I'd like to hear what the others think.
Vanessa, would you like to comment?
Yeah, because I think, again, you know, Andy's so convincing in his words. Like I felt that I might be defending this image when I scored it, because it's got such a, I had a sensory reaction to it. It's very, the colors are very evocative, and the movement is is bringing me into the image. So here I am, I was thinking I would be explaining my way to why it should be sitting in the silver, and Andy's convincing me to go to silver distinction. So perhaps I'm pretty easy to be swayed, and I'm looking forward to hearing a few more remarks.
Natasha.
I really also, like Andy, I really enjoyed the color palette of this. I just wasn't sure that it elevated from silver up to silver distinction. But I do see there is excellent technique. The details of the movement of the image is really interesting, and it does have a beautiful tonality to it, with loving the purple and the greens in the, you know, in the bottom sort of half of the image, with that sort of pale pastel colors at the top. I am open to listening though, to move it up into that next bracket, Andy, so, or anyone else who'd like to comment.
Thank you. Kay?
Yeah, I'm probably going to come up to silver distinction. I'm really enjoying that. I imagine myself just walking through a field of lupins or whatever the flowers might be, and just the breeze just wafting through and creating that gentle, soft movement. And that's the feeling I get when I'm looking at this image. People have mentioned the colors, they're just sublime. So yeah, I'm going to come up to silver distinction with you, Andrew.
Thank you. James?
I've scored this 87, placing it firmly within silver with distinction. And what the author of this image has done is exemplified beauty in simplicity. They've picked a lane in terms of motion blur and just gone with it and trusted their process with that. And this is literally or visually a demonstration of drawing with light, the basis of photography. And when we go close into the image, we see a real painterly quality, like brushstrokes on a canvas. I admire it. I admire the detail. A few little issues that might elevate it through to the next level for me, and these are all in-camera cropping issues. But apart from that, a unique image that I believe sits well within silver with distinction.
Thank you so much. Andy, would you like to rebut? And
Thanks so much, Sarah. Much has been said, but I just would encourage my fellow judges to reflect on the nature of the category, which is in-camera artistry. Let's just reflect on the word art for a moment, because that is exactly what this photographer has brought us. It's a beautiful piece of art. Please come up to silver distinction.
Thank you, Andy. Please leave your score at 88 and everybody else can rescore now. And we have a silver with distinction. Well argued, judges. Thank you so much. Everybody's very happy there. 87. Congratulations. And I just love some of the words that you're using. Vanessa, the sensory reaction. I really felt that one. Thank you. Thank you for that. Can we take Andy off? And let's bring Bruce back on. And let's move to the next image. We have a 79, highly commended, and we have a challenge from Vanessa, who scored 85. Vanessa, would you like to speak?
Thanks, Sarah. This is so theatrical. This is exactly what you'd be producing if you were creating biopics, let me call them, for actors. And I got a real sense of Jekyll and Hyde, or Phantom of the Opera, with that shadow across the face. It's really definite and defying and strong, like it's done on purpose. There's no accident about that shadow across the face, the half face. So I was really drawn in. Then there's that dramatic lighting, and it's just magnificent. And I think that you could possibly, I'm going to hear other people talking about in-camera cropping, but I think that adds to that whole gobo effect that stage photography really brings to life. So I'm completely and utterly drawn into this image, and I'd like to hear why others aren't.
Kay.
Yeah, thanks for that, Vanessa. I've scored this in the silver range, and I'm still listening. For me, I did see all of the things that you've seen, but for me, the expression was lacking in terms of giving me any sense of real direction about what the subject is actually thinking or experiencing. So that's where I'm sitting back a little bit in the scoring there, but I'd like to listen to what others may have to say.
Bruce?
I'm not going to be helpful. I'm sorry. I think it's really a great theatrical style portrait, but the thing that was getting me down is the face, the shadowed face, just not getting on the edge of the jawline, and that's how you get this sort of weird double thing going on. I think it just needs a bit more refinement in that respect. And then you've got this big blob of shadow in the left which I wish wasn't there. I wish it had that ladder just fully coming down. I think there's like the photographer's done a really, really good job of setting it up. I just think it needed that extra 10% of refinement just to make it just go the next level for me.
Natasha.
Yeah, similar to what Bruce said, I feel like if the photographer had just had their model just shift the face slightly, that would have hidden that shadow behind that bright cheek line, and just would have given the definition and edge of where that really dark shadow is. Also, when you're looking at an image like this, because the eye that's closest to you is the one that's in full shadow, it makes it sort of very disturbing. So kind of deciding whether that adds to the story or whether it kind of, because the other eye that you can see doesn't seem to have that same emotional energy behind it, it's kind of this very kind of doesn't kind of read the way you kind of want to read it with the way that they've lit it. So hopefully that makes a bit of sense to the photographer.
Really helpful comments. Thank you. Vanessa, please, your right of reply.
Thanks, Sarah. I think the fact that you use the word disturbing there is really, really deliberate. I think that when you're talking about, wearing a mask, then you're obviously trying to portray a sense that's quite perturbed, or it's masked deliberately. And I think this whole image has been very deliberate in the way it's been presented. I see that shadow on the left-hand side as being either his character's persona or his persona. So to me, I just read into the whole presentation as being one complete story. So I think that's all I've got to add. But there's been some really great comments in there, and I can't see why this can't be the perfect silver with distinction.
Great comments. Thank you very much. So, Vanessa, you're going to stay at 85, and everybody else can think about what's been said and enter your scores now. And we now have an 81, silver. Well done, judges, and well done to the entrant. Can we have Natasha and James? You're going to step off, and we're going to have Gavir and Andrew coming back on. And we'll move to the next image, please. And we have an 81, a silver award. Very well done. Can we have a comment from Kay, please?
Yeah, really delightful portrait of a tree here, carrying the weight of the world on its shoulder, literally, with the ice, the hoarfrost ice and snow. In terms of improving it, I'm not sure if anyone else has got any comments, but I'm really enjoying I really enjoy the image, and just even the texture in the snow is there. It's just a delightful portrait of a tree.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. This is an 81. And we will leave the panel where it is for a second and move on to the next image. We have a 77, highly commended, very tight scoring there across the board. Vanessa, would you like to comment, please?
Yeah, I think that the posing is being considered, and that's to be commended. I think that the whole image itself probably just needs a little bit more breathing space. So her right shoulder, our left, is just that little bit tight in the crop. But you can see that there's been great consideration of the posing, and that's to be commended.
Great comment. Thank you so much. And can we bring James back on? And Andrew, you can take a short break. And next image, please. And we have a 75, highly commended. Could we have a comment from Bruce, please?
Yeah, sure. Great, well, spectacular landscape wherever you were. Amazing. I think a couple of things that will help you elevate this is be really careful when you're doing this sort of motion and in-camera motion or double exposures, triple exposures, however you're doing it, that your horizon either is deliberately sitting level or off in a particular for a particular reason. In this instance, it feels quite unlevel. It feels like it's banking to the left. The other thing is that if you're shooting landscapes or anything where you're collapsing your aperture down, you're going to get your dust spots from your lens or your sensor. So obviously this is in-camera artistry. You can't clean it, you can't fix it, but it is something you need to be aware of because there's quite a lot of dust and other issues within the frame, unfortunately.
Thank you. Very, very useful comments. And can we take Kay off, please, and bring Natasha back on? And move to the next image. We have a 78, highly commended. Gavir, I've seen some of your work do similar techniques such as this. So would you like to comment on this?
Yeah, sure. I actually love the posing and the lighting that's actually on the image. Photographer's done an excellent job being able to control that by through at the same time shooting through an opaque sort of sheet. Just a few little areas of not concerns, it's just issues that could be addressed is when we photograph inside profile, it's just a little bit more of a turn on the subject's face to the camera left, would have kept the bridge of her nose within their cheek. And so just make sure I don't know whether it's deliberate or not, but I would personally prefer to like to see a little bit more of a cleaner surface to shoot through. The opaque or the transparent sheet that you're shooting through at the moment, it seems to be very, very dirty, and it's causing a bit of distraction in a few areas, especially across the cheek and the hair as well.
Thank you, Gavir. Could we have, actually, I'm going to leave the panel where it is just for a second, and we will move on to the next image. And we have a 75, highly commended. Let's have a comment from Natasha. Where could the entrant raise their game a little bit and just take this to the next level?
Yeah, of course. It's really important to remember that the brightest part of the image is what you see first. And unfortunately, in this image, the brightest part of the image is actually the center of the flower that is out of focus, which is the back flower. So it's just when you're looking at, particularly in-camera artistry, when you're looking at your depth of field and you're looking at your composition, it's really important with your lighting that you are highlighting where you want your audience to look, basically.
Great comment, really useful, thank you. And could we have Andrew back on, please? And Bruce, you can take a break and we'll move to the next image. We have a 79, highly commended.
That'll be me again.
Yeah. Would you like to challenge Andy?
Sorry about that. Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Never apologize for challenging.
Look, what I'm out on a limb here, I guess, and it's sort of lonely out there. But what I'm enjoying here is this sense of perhaps like an old-fashioned album cover for, Pink Floyd or something. It's got that real sense of something is going to happen and we're setting the stage. There's so much room for graphics and I guess that sort of simplicity is, reflects back to the sort of era of hypnosis when they sort of created all those wonderful album covers using minimalism. If we walk away from that just for a moment, looking into the image and looking at that sort of misty mountain range in the background, that's given me enough sense of depth within that to award the image. And then the way the light is playing on the water there, just with that incredibly harmonious horizontal zap, GT stripe. It's really interesting. Maybe I'm well and truly out my own here looking for a silver distinction, but I'll settle for silver.
You might be surprised. You never know how persuasive you can be. Let's hear from Mr. Musselwhite.
Thank you. Yeah, the pleasure to speak on this image. I placed it 77, right in the middle of that highly commended range. And Andy and I are going to talk off camera about the standard that we're setting for Pink Floyd album covers. I believe that this sits, certainly it could be something more akin to orchestral maneuvers in the dark or the Human League. I could see it in that. I appreciate the photographer's ability to use the rule of thirds to draw our eye into that horizon line. And I love the subtle detail of the mountain range in the background. The reason why I was unable to go a little higher is that there were a few dust spots on there and I was struggling to come into a silver award when we don't have a clean digital back in this category, and just something else to give me a point of context or a point of interest, but I'm certainly listening to everyone else.
Thank you. Natasha.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, I really love the tonality of this image and the way that it's using that monochromatic palette. But the thing that I did notice the dust spots, but it's also the fact that the horizon line isn't straight. So I always find that really hard when you've got such a clear horizon line and it's just kind of tilted just that little bit that makes it kind of feel like you're falling off the frame a little. So I am interested to hear what you come back with, Andy, because I did also score it in that highly commended range, which had sort of, with that horizon line, that's what had stopped me from kind of just going into that next range. So I am interested to hear what else you've got.
Yeah. Yeah, let's hear from Vanessa.
A lot of what I was thinking's been said. It's got a real ethereal nature to it, and it's and that lineal there's an appeal there with the lineal nature of it. Just going past a dust spot that's just like a big freight train in the middle of the sky was really difficult, and that's what stopped me going into silver.
Great comment. Andy?
Yeah, I'm not asking for gold here, folks. Going to ask you to forgive a couple of dust spots there, and just see if we can elevate this wonderful graphic composition up to a silver, please.
It's so close. We're currently sitting at 79. Andy, you're going to leave your score at 88, and everybody else can rescore now. And we now have an 81, a silver. Well done, Andy. You just made a photographer's day. Congratulations. And thank you to the judges for listening and being so open to the process. Very well done. So can we have Kay on quickly? And James, you can take a break. Actually, James, you can stay on. Vanessa, you can take a break. And we'll go to the next image, please. And we have a 74. Could we have a comment from Andrew? You are right on 74.
Oh, thanks so much. I think there's just a little bit too much going on in this image for a higher score. The focus on the eye is terrific, but there is so much sort of plethora surrounding that it becomes quite distracting. And also the very heavy base of this image, I'm not sure it's really doing a lot for, I guess, an elevated score here. So I think this might be a case of back to the drawing board and think a little bit more simplicity, I think would go well here.
Thank you. And can we have a quick rotation? Bruce, you can come on, and Kay, you can step off, and we will move to the next image. We have an 82, a silver, and
is it selective or automatic?
We have a challenge. It's such a wide range of scores that we would have a challenge no matter what. But Andy, you scored 91, so you start.
All right. This very much is evocative of, I guess, any kind of trailer for a science fiction film, movie, series. And it's got that real sense of sort of almost robotic isolation, a little bit sort of, evocative of Brave New World and 1984, that sort of thing. And it's compelling and it's powerful, it's strong. And I'm going to nitpick my own argument by just saying I really find it frustrating that little tiny bit at the bottom wasn't cropped out, but I'll just say that now so no one else does. But overall, it's asking a lot of questions, and it's kind of holding my attention. And with all of that, I think we need to, dig a little deeper into this one and see what the others think.
Bruce.
Yeah, I had the same thought, Andy, like the movie poster or book or anything to that nature. Good communication. Like it's got that interest. And I actually really like the fact that the eyes don't have a highlight. That really gives it even more mystery. I think the thing that stopped me from going up to like silver distinction was the dress or whatever it is down the bottom that you can see on both sides actually, but obviously the left side is more predominant. Beyond that, I found the story. It looks good. I just didn't find it as original as I would want to come up to gold, but I'm listening. I am. I need an excuse to come up to silver distinction because so yeah.
Gavir, you appreciated this image. You scored at 84, right at the top end. Would you like to speak about this?
Yeah, I always know how difficult it is to photograph through textured glass or textured sort of surfaces and then trying to grab that emotion as well. But I just like the way that the author's done this beautiful vignette around the image, which is in camera as well. And the more you think about it, this image is in camera, highlights and shadows are spot on. Well done.
Thank you. James, you saw things a little bit differently. So let's balance this out and let's get your perspective.
Absolutely. I placed this 74 just outside of that highly commended category. And I did that deliberately so that I really, really, really wanted to reach out to this photographer and wanted to reach out to this image to encourage them to take this 3 or 4 steps further. And then we're jumping 3, 4, 5 categories. And there's a few things and a few amendments that we can make to this image. When we're behind glass and we're photographing this in camera, we're producing a barrier between the photographer and the model. She's very, very close to the lines here. I felt the whole image felt quite dark and quite underexposed. So I was struggling with the highly commended definition with regards to highly competent, well executed work when I felt the thing was just a little bit dark and a little bit underexposed. The most appealing part of this image to me are those shoulders and the way that the light is falling across the collar and across the chest. I felt that was a really, really good use of shape and form within the image. And there is an opportunity here to use a shallow depth of field, to move her away from the glass, to refine your lighting slightly, and to crop in to give us less, to crop in with your camera and give us shape and form and allow us to make our judgments and our ideas and our expectations about this image in our own heads rather than giving us too much to work with. I felt also the color temperature on that image was a little warm. If we're going for that otherworldly sci-fi feel, then we want to start using that color temperature to move into greens and to move into blues and to move into something that's a little bit otherworldly. This is not a negative score that I'm trying to give the photographer here. I just think that there is an idea here, a concept here. This feels like the ground level image, and I feel like we have got steps to go up, and there's no limit to how high this style of photography could achieve within competition.
Wonderful passion there, James. Thank you. Andy, bring it home.
Yeah.
Please convince our panel to come up a few points.
Everything James said is true. It's just he got his score wrong. Absolutely. Sorry, James. But the androgynous nature of this, it's a little bit kind of Westworld Blade Runner-esque where, we seem to be kind of creating a person here that may not actually, be functioning yet. The eyes are closed. They're dispassionate. We're looking on here. This is number 471, female figure about to get programmed and set off into whatever lies before them. We've nitpicked the bits and pieces that needed to be nitpicked, but I think at the end of the day, we're not really rewarding the originality and the extraordinary story that we're seeing in front of us with a score of 82. So I'd strongly recommend. We've all had a good think. We've talked about it a lot. Let's rescore this one.
Yeah, well done, everybody. Andy, you're going to stay at 91. Everybody else, have a deep think and then enter your scores. We now have an 84 silver. It's just a few points, but it means so much to the entrance. So thank you, judges. Everybody came up there. Really appreciate that. Can we have Gavir and James sitting off now? And let's bring Kay and Vanessa back on, and we'll move to the next image. Natasha? Just waiting for you. And we have an 83 Silver Award. Very well done. Could we have a comment from Natasha? Let's have a comment from you.
Thank you. Yes, I was struggling with exactly where to place this. It's a beautiful image. They've done a great job. I love the tonality of it. There is, I find it really very intriguing image. There is, it is always a challenge with in camera because you can't obviously move the bird to be exactly where you'd want it to be in frame. And I also, it does look like almost everything in the camera in the image is sharp, but it does look like that eye is not quite pin sharp, which is what I would have hoped for. But congratulations to the photographer. I think they did a great job.
Thank you so much. Can we, Natasha, you can take a break now, actually, and let's have Gavir back on. And we will move to the next image. Congratulations, we have an 80 Silver Award. Could we have a comment from Bruce, please?
Well done getting a cat to sit still on that without destroying it, unless it did a few times, then I feel for you. Nicely composed and thought out and everything to that nature. I think the thing that lets it down a little bit is that the top of the frame, you got a bit of shadow in that top left, and you've got a bit of different color on the top right. It does match the cat, but it just doesn't feel right. It feels like it's like the end of the actual scene you've put together, and you've sort of caught it. So just a little bit more finesse on the composition, like millimeters in this instance, and then also just have a look at the things that are within the frame as well, because like I can see staples and stuff like that. Not sure if you want that to be part of the illusion or not, because when you don't see it, I think it just makes it more. Yeah, so well done, and cute cat.
Thank you so much. Great comment. And we will leave the panel where it is for a second. We'll move on to the next image. And we have a 76, highly commended, and a challenge from Vanessa. Take it away, Vanessa.
Yeah, I suppose I'm still working this out, because I just got such a punch in the face when I saw it. It's got a real narrative to it. It's very striking in its initial impact. But when I look closely, I can just see in this depth. I'm really struggling to actually word it, because you've got that. I can see the foreground. I can see these really, heavy, dark timber fencing, and then I can see the field, and I can see some rocks, and then I can see these really dark trees, and then beyond them some more ethereal trees, and I'm just drawn in. I just want to keep following down this the path of the pylons, and I want to know what's to come, and I get a sense of foreboding. Really intrigued me. I'm actually a little bit surprised. I thought again that I might be the one that was sitting at the lower end of the score, and you guys would be telling me why it's so amazing. So I'm interested to hear why it didn't grab others. I think the composition of it is really strong too, with these pylons over to the far left, giving us all this negative space over on the our right hand side. Leaves us with this sense of where are we going, and what is the story.
Thank you so much. Kay, would you like to comment?
Yeah, thank you, Vanessa. For me, I guess I was struggling a little bit in terms of what was the main aspects of the image. Are we meant to be, is it the smoke or whatever that is that's coming out on the right hand side, or is it the pylons on the left hand side? I feel they're competing against each other. Yes, I almost feel that this photographer could have concentrated on one of those aspects. I also feel that the image is just breaking up. The quality of it is just being let down immensely. Yeah, so I'm currently sitting in the highly commended range. In pre-award range.
Bruce.
Yeah, I put this in highly commended. I might come up. The reason is I actually really enjoyed that it is noisy and gritty and kind of horrible. I look at it, it's been cropped in camera, or they used a camera that shoots a 1:1. It feels like an album cover. It feels like David Lynch. It feels like if you stuck some text over where that cloud is, that fog or whatever, like a logo or something like that, this will read like something atmospheric, like Silent Hill or any of those sort of horror properties or those avant-garde properties out there. I think it's actually really clever. It is one of those ones you have to look at for a while, and it's not everything has to be perfect. I think we've talked about that a little bit through tonight. I think sometimes gritty and not perfect, particularly in image quality, in the respect to how it's been captured, is actually acceptable if it gives you the story you're looking for. And in this one, I find it just like avant-garde and kind of horror or something to that nature. So yeah, I really enjoy it.
Thank you, Bruce. Let's bring it back to Vanessa and your writer reply.
Oh, thanks, Bruce, because you said some words that I'm right there with. So you go, it's a bit, the crop might be considered awkward or ambiguous, but like I think really deep down, it's really gutsy that you've left everything to the outside edges of this frame, and then and given us this deep expanse of wildlife out there, or nature out there to fill in the void. And then the noise is like, it's that the noise and the grit is adding an extra quality to it. It's like that adds to the tenseness, is that a word, of the scene. I think that only adds to this image, and I think that also helps to create that kind of giving us that next level of depth. So we've got the foreground and then the trees, and then we've got this next level of depth before we reach those mountains. So I think that grittiness and the noise really is accentuated in this photo. Well done to the photographer. I think it's amazing.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. You're going to stay on 84. Judges, think about what has been said, and you can re-enter your scores now. And we now have a 79, highly commended. Well done. Great debate. Thank you very much. Can we have Andrew? You can sit off for a second. And let's bring James back on. And next image, please. And we have a 76, highly commended. Well done. Could we have a comment from James? You were very close there.
Yeah, very much so. I placed it in the highly commended for the attempt at doing something original and to take these items and to display them in a much more abstract way, which immediately, there's always two signs when you're judging that are good for an entrant, whether a judge leans forward to look at it in a bit more detail or comes back to admire it. And I was a lean forwarder one on this one. I really wanted to look into there and have a look at some of the detail. I would pursue this idea with a different flower arrangement, with more authentic flowers, with more authentic props, and something that exhibits maybe a little bit more color. Have a look at the color theory and see how we can progress this to the next level by bringing in that color harmony, bringing in that impact, and hopefully bringing this idea up to the next level. But I commend the author on an original idea.
Thank you, James. Gavir, you can take a short break and we will bring on Natasha. And we will move to the next image. And we have an 80 silver award. Could we have a word from Vanessa, please?
This is a beautiful image, and it's really it takes you to I've used the word ethereal a bit, but an ethereal place. I think this is probably a case of in-camera cropping. Is just that top, the top fifth could probably go to really focus our attention on the tonal qualities of the flower as the priority in the image.
Great comment. Thank you so much. And that is our last image. Great to go out with a silver award, an 80 for this. So thank you very much, judges, for your passion.
Amazing, Sarah. And thank you so much for your incredible panel mentoring. You are right. This is a passionate crew. And, you know, from an entrance perspective, seeing judges be so passionate about their imagery is really, really exciting. So thank you for steering that ship. And judges, thank you for your passion and your incredible debate. And I tell you what, there were some beautiful stories told there and some lovely interpretations of some really gorgeous work. So well done to all of you. That brings us to a close of the In-Camera Artistry category of the Australian Photographic Prize. Thank you to all of our entrants. You've submitted some absolutely stunning work. Well done. If you didn't make it to the top 30, have a listen to what the judges are looking for. Get on those sort of buzzwords of, contrast and eloquence and all those amazing words that came out tonight, and use them as inspiration for next year. Thank you to our competition director, Daniel, director of judging, Chris, and our behind the scenes crew, Helen and Nathan. Thank you. You're doing a great job, guys, of keeping things running smoothly. And of course, to our sponsors, Nikon, AZO, KL, Godox, Ilford Photography Studies College, and Print Shop. Really appreciate you guys sponsoring the Australian Photographic Prize, so we have some great things to give away. Thank you to our online audience for tuning in. We hope it's been an educational and enjoyable experience. So a reminder, book it in this Sunday from 5 p.m. Turn up, find out who's won, see the best of the best. Make sure you are there, and we will be back tomorrow night from 7 p.m. for the judging of the newborn category. Until then, we'll see you soon.
Wow, photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they're so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6 III. Outperform.
Introducing ISO Color Edge. Precision is essential for any professional working with images. Whether you're an artist, a retoucher, or a visual effects specialist, you need to know that what you see at the start of a project is precisely what you'll get at the end. Color Edge monitors give consistent, reliable accuracy that guarantee no surprises within your color workflow. So what you see in real life is what you see on screen, and what you see on screen is what you see in real life. That's precisely why professionals all over the world trust ISO Color Edge for their image creation. ISO Color Edge. Discover living, breathing color.